a tradition. Every time I go shopping, I get 2 sodas and a pizza at Little Caesar. And as I walked in, there was a man waiting, and he was delivering orders that he like Uber orders and delivers food, right? And the little girl working there, he's sitting there. He starts fussing, "Where's it at?" And she looks over at the thing. She didn't see it, and then she looked at the one where it's you typically not, and it was there. He goes, "It's been here all the time." And she's like, you know, and I was like, it was obviously in the unexpected place, and she expected it to be there. So yeah, that happens. And he's, well, I got to go. It's money, right? And I said, I sat there after he left, and I said, people that believe money's real, they get crazy and they do things that are nuts. And if you believe in the Lord's Prayer, we won't have to do this kind of stuff anymore, and it won't. So sorry about that. She goes, what kind do you got? The 3 meat? That's the kind we like. Could we get it? So I got mine, and I left. And I went outside, and he's still trying to get in his car, and he's fussing and saying how stupid they are. And I said, went over and showed him the nerve damage scars from chemical poisoning, the cancer cells on my legs, and I showed him that. And I said, I also dealing with the prostate, getting it out. He goes, well, that's hard. And I said, yeah, that because I stood up to corrupt government and military operations to get them to live the Lord's Prayer. Well, this is about money. I like sitting there going, did you listen to a fucking word I just said? You were mean to that little girl because you got to make your money. And I stood up for us to all live the Lord's Prayer. And I got tortured half to death, okay? And I am nicer to the people at White Sands and NASA than you were to that poor little girl. Okay? He just drove off. It's all about my money. And I'm like, God damn. It's like talking to a dog. I went and walked to the truck. Before I went there was this young man named Francisco sitting in his car about 4 parking spots over. I went to talk to him about it. We had a nice 10-minute conversation. And I explained to him, I said, I am the Messiah, and I was born here, and it fulfills the books, and it's based on reality. And I said, I don't know many people, you don't want to know what's happening till you can do something about it, okay? And they did horrible things to me. Okay, sexually abused my wife, sexually compromised my children, killed my mom with the medical industry, like we talked about earlier. They make examples of my family, killed them with cancer, having them pray to Jesus, the Roman comic book character, as they die, and say, see, you're the Messiah. They still don't believe in you. It's like, God, it's horrible. But I still want these people to just go and sin this sin no more and live the Lord's Prayer and spend the rest of their lives living the Lord's Prayer, even though Justin can't, even though Marianne can't, even though Michelle can't, even though I can't get my time back with Amy or Steffi or Law or whoever I wanted to be with, or Edna or Miriam, even though I can't enjoy that time that they took away from me with my kids, I still want them to just live the Lord's Prayer. Okay, I don't want to have to get the quantum computing to kill them, but if I need to, I will. Okay. And then I watched that video on that guy with the Scottish accent talking about the sovereign cop guy. And I was like, that was just mean. All you had to do is you're in a hurry. Okay. What's up? I got to go to work and I got this job. If he would have talked to her in a way, where he came up and said, what's going on? And then if he would talk to her intelligently, this stuff is going to pile up on you. And you're going to end up losing your capacity to drive to your job and keep your job and pay your bills. Okay. I don't want to incarcerate you, and I don't want to make you I don't want to be the source of you losing your job. Okay. You're not doing anything that is causing problems per se that will get, you're not selling drugs, and you're not holding up stores, and you're not, like that. But if you do enough of this and resist a bunch of the abuse by the organization that determines what we do for money, okay, and then you can be harshly abused by them. Okay. When I did it Zero Vista. Now, what I was doing was I made videos for Osama bin Laden and Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. Okay, because I'd known people that were Muslims that were political refugees, okay, and that told me, here's what they said, here's what's happening. So I made videos and said, someone get a hold of me and tell me what's the deal. And then the government just followed me around and harassed me and then abused me. And I was like, okay. Hey, when I set forth to correct super and quantum computing with the eternal perfection of the Gospels, I take it quite seriously. And when I take it seriously, I understand that life is eternal and grace is infinite. Okay? And everything that is done right and good and truthfully, okay, is reflecting the beauty of the sovereignty of our lives. And everything that is done wrong and bad and unfaithfully and through lie, okay, puts all our lives at risk. Okay, so money is an invention by human beings to abuse one another, to have a delusion of power. Okay, I understand that better than Stephen Hawking, better than Michio Kaku, better than Neil deGrasse Tyson. Okay, better than any Nobel Prize winner alive. They may think they understand it, but they won't get up and do anything about it. Okay, and if you understand it and you know it's right and it's good and it's truthful, you get up and do something about it. That's why I'm the most intelligent man in the world, period. Okay, there's not a more intelligent human being on the planet than me right now. You can be as intelligent as me, but you can't be more intelligent. There's not a more kind or brave person on the planet than me. You cannot be more, but you can be as. You know, when I talked to Ivan, when I talked to the father, when I talked to that, she was so pretty. The Mexican mother with the head with the guy with the headphones at the checkout. She made me think of all the girls I crushed on when I was younger. It's like, and they get older, like me, and you know, it's cute. She was adorable. Yeah. It's neat to see that people still believe, even with all the harshness and all the brutality and all the abuse of this occupied territory that they call New Mexico. Okay, this is an occupied territory. These people are on Indian reservations, military Indian reservations. That's why a lot of them get so angry and violent. Okay. We didn't ask to become part of the United States. The United States came and made us part of the United States. Okay. Earl, but I know I'm a migrant my family came here in 1958. Okay. But I'm a New Mexican. My mom told me that when I was a kid. She said, you know, Robert E. Lee, we had a book of Robert E. Lee, and I sat there and said, he's a traitor. And Mom goes, Earl, they attacked Virginia. Oh. If the U.S. government attacked New Mexico and tried to kill all the New Mexicans, what would you do? I'd get up and protect the New Mexicans, Mom. Okay. I'm a New Mexican. Right. Sovereignty is your family that has faith in God. That's what the word means, sovereign. Okay. That has faith in God and loves one another and will stand for that faith and that love no matter what. Okay? Gosh, I will one day meet Jennifer Lynn Lopez and Janet Jackson because I wrote that down when I was in high school. We're going to meet and we're going to be friends. Yeah, I'm going all page on that one. They're going to be at the barbecue too. That's Janet Jackson. That's Jennifer Lopez. Hello, Paige. I'm the Messiah. No, this is the celebrating the Lord's Prayer, and I did that. I'm the Messiah. This is my party. I did it. I'm going to throw a binge fit right now. I like that girl. I got to go to Saskatchewan. I got to take in a writer's game. Oh, so I'm like, okay. That was cute. That was very funny. I even got teared up there. God, I must be taking acting classes from Jennifer Lopez. But so that was funny. But yeah, I watch all this stuff. Every time they come up with a new movement, it's like, what the fuck are these motherfuckers doing now? What's that with sovereign mean? Do you guys know what the word sovereign means? Okay. Sovereign? Okay. What does being belligerent and abusive to people that you accept philanthropy from have to do with sovereignty? Sovereignty is Job in the Bible. Do you need sheep? They're God's sheep. Do you need sheep? Yes. Well, then here's sheep. Me and a man talked about that when I came to the store to get my Epsom salts. I told them about the kingdom of Israel. And I said, with Job and Solomon and David, okay, that basically, the story of Job is, he just basically would give people sheep, and that's how he had that following. And then when everything went bad, he had all those faithful people around him say, hey, that's our Job. He helped us get our flock started and be able to take care of our families because they're God's sheep. And he shared the faith in God and the glory of God with us with sheep. It was beautiful. He took what he had to take care of his family, and he shared it with other people. Anytime they was caught stealing or whatever, he'd just come and ask him. He'd come with the stick and, hey, do you need? Well, then ask. What? Do you believe in Jehovah? Can you follow these covenants? Okay, here, I'll check on you. If you need help, come ask. That's what Job did. He was the most beautiful. That's why in his time he was the equivalent of a millionaire. He was considered so well off because he had such good care, share, given according to need, built to last. And when people tried to break it down, it didn't happen. The people came through for him. Okay? And so in King Solomon's time, like I said, if we had a place like this where we stored all our stuff, no one would sit and watch it. They would just like with Jesus and Timothy, somebody stole your coat, right? Here, you don't have one. Well, yeah, because, it's supposed to be like Solomon's Israel. They're supposed to be civilized, but boom, And so if someone comes along and they come into where we store all the stuff and they try to take it, we walk up, you need some shit. And they go, what? Don't take, just ask. Manuelito 101. Most of you guys don't know who he is. He's a Dene man that went on the long walk to Fort Sumner. And him and Barboncito sat down to a guy who was it Sherman? I can't remember which one it was, but they sat down and they told their story. And he said, the best I can do is set you free and let you walk back. And they said, that's all we can ask for. So what about the people that will die on the way there? We're Navajo. We would rather die free, okay, than stay here what you call living captive. And you're like, wow, we're going to take that and turn it into a license plate in New Hampshire. Just kidding around, right? So I love Manuelito so much. Me and Barboncito don't talk as much. I would like to, but he didn't talk to the one like Jesus. But Manuelito did. And Barboncito would go, okay, that sounds like us. Okay. Sounds like he could be Navajo. The enemy? Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of the talks I have are with Apaches and Navajos. You know what Apache means? Enemy. You know what Navajo means? Enemy. I guess if you attack my women and children and I stand up to you, who knows? Maybe in other tribes across the water, Israelite means enemy. I don't know. Have to ask the people that they came and tried to kill their women and children. Okay. I love you guys, all right? Peace out, bro. See you tomorrow.